you, the presenter, right now, and Brad, it's all yours. So go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Brad Swindell with OPT. We're here today to talk a little bit about what SedonaSync can do for you guys and how we can make it easier to implement the product. Everyone at this point should be able to see my screen. There should be a slide there saying improving operational efficiency. Let me just make sure that we got that. It looks like we're good. Great. So what we want to talk a little bit about is what SedonaSync really can do. SedonaSync, if you don't know already, is a product that sits on top of SedonaOffice and listens for certain conditions inside your database. What we do is we listen to this information coming out of SedonaSync, and we're able to send out emails and reports and dashboards and other types of notifications. So this really becomes an opportunity for you to look at your data, look at your customers, look at your information, and be able to figure out how we can improve these things. To give you just a little bit of background on how SedonaSync actually works, what it does is connects directly to the SedonaOffice databases, and if you didn't also know, SedonaSync can also connect to Manitou, QuoteWorks, WeSuite, or just about any other ODBC compliant database, that meaning a SQL-based database. So SedonaSync is built in two parts. In a SedonaSync queries, that's the information that you pull out of the database, and SedonaSync events, which is the information that you send out. Then we can send that out using email or as a report or as a dashboard. So what I want to do is I want to show you some examples of some of the events that we've built. So what we've done is we've gone in and we've used SedonaSync to look at different metrics and things like that. Example here is a financial flash report that we've built. This information you can pull is things like AR deposits, credits, canceled accounts, new accounts, things like that. This is a great opportunity to send a snapshot to a business owner or to somebody who just needs pieces of individual information. We can also include charts and graphs with this, which is an add-on module to SedonaSync. And here's an example of a service flash report. What we've done here is we've gone in and collected information about your service companies from Sedona and looked at different pieces of information. So this is a statistical report or an analysis report that we can generate out of SedonaSync. We can look at things like the number of tickets opened each month, closed each month, the number of tickets invoiced and the balances of those invoices. So we can look at total sales. But also this is looking not only at your current month, but looking at your last few years as well. So you can really get an idea how you're performing over time. One of our newer events that seems to be getting a lot of traction here is our automated collection letters. What we're doing is we're looking at the invoices inside Sedona, and we are determining when those invoices are past due and sending a friendly notice out to your clients stating that they need, that they have past due invoices. We include a little mini statement here, and the verbiage actually can be controlled by you through our interface, which we're going to talk a little bit about in a minute. That's the product that Michael referred to that is allowing you much easier access to build and control your SedonaSync events. This is an example of a report that we send out to your technicians in the morning, letting them know of their service calls. We look through the list of service calls, we filter it down by technician and send it out to the individual technicians. And what's great about these events is that they're also optimized to work on smartphones so that you can actually pull them up inside your mapping feature on your smartphone and then route and provide, get directions to those particular service calls. As well, we also have a series of events that we built to go out to the customers to inform them about their service dispatching. For instance, we remind them that they have a service call for tomorrow, and then we can also email them when the technician is en route and include even a photo and a biography of that technician to let them know who that they're to expect at their house or the business. And finally, we can send a survey thank you message at the end to let them know that we appreciate their business and include a dynamic survey so they can fill that out and respond back with the information there. Just a note about our survey system, we actually use a third-party provider for the surveys that can actually pick up the information from Sedona to pre-populate the surveys. This way, when the information is returned to you, you know exactly who returned the information and for what service call they were referring to. It's an example of a purchase price variance where we look at information from Sedona looking for changes in purchasing price. This is a great way for you to let your warehouse managers and your department managers know when parts are being either sold or purchased rather from a different warehouse or at a different cost than what your standard cost is. Changes to the PPV indicate sometimes that things need to be updated within Sedona for proper purchasing and things like that. We also have a series of ticket status reports that we can look at different values and indications within the ticket queue where we can notify different people within your organization to let you know that there are certain conditions that arise. For instance, you have a series of calls that need go-back appointments or a series of calls that have been departed but not closed. So if you have, if you're getting behind on invoicing your service tickets, but you've collected the information, this is a way to remind you that these tickets need to be sent off to billing. One of our newer reports as well is our daily technician audit report. This is a great way for you to keep track of your technicians throughout the day, see how many service calls and jobs that they've completed, and the amount of time that they spent on those calls and in travel between them. This is using the dispatch, arrive, and depart logic within Sedona directly. And then we have several open purchase order and inventory reports looking for information such as parts with less than their minimum quantities or purchase orders that have been opened for more than 30 days. These are great ways to look at changes within your purchasing and be able to, restock the departments as they need them or the warehouses. And we even are working on sales reports out of QuoteWorks, WeSuite, and Sedona Prospect to let you know how many sales leads are put into the system, where that source is coming from, and give the sales manager, the general manager, an indication of what's coming in. Now, I want to talk a little bit about dashboarding. So SedonaSync has the capability of building dynamic dashboards as well. This is a great opportunity for you to set up information and look at that information in real time to make informed business decisions. We can do everything from sales and service dashboards, looking at information such as jobs and purchasing and things like that, as well as service tickets and the number of tickets opened and the performance of the service tickets. These dashboards are built very similar to the way the emails work, and the customization is also in the interface just like the emails are. We even offer drill down dashboarding, which allows you to take the information that you've been displayed in the dashboard and get down to the nitty-gritty details. So for instance, in a service dispatch dashboard where we're looking at the service calls for the day, we can then open that up and go right into the details of that service call right from within the dashboard. We also offer alerting at the top of the dashboard. So through our interface, we can configure alerts and reports that come out and will display at the top of the dashboard. So if you were to leave a dashboard up on a monitor, for instance, you would have an easy way to indicate certain conditions within your database or to put out any messages to anybody who currently has that dashboard open. So what I'd like to show you is the actual OPT sync interface. What this is, we've looked at a few of the events and reports that we can develop, but the interface is really the tool that allows us to do this. What we've built is a system that sits on top of the Sedona database. What this does is it takes the information from Sedona as well as additional information that you program in regards to the specific event that you're dealing with, and brings that information together so that SedonaSync can query that information and report that back out in the email. So what we do is we have a list of events in there, and we assign a profile and a color scheme, logos, and other types of information that eventually comes over. We also get our table information, fonts, and spacing as well. So for instance, we look at this event here where it is a simple text event, but once we add in the profile information, we get a rich text with fonts and table colors and styles. Makes it look like a much more professional event. We have a lot of customization there where we can move logos to the top, the bottom, we can change the colors and the fonts and the formats. Really, the customization is, there's really no limit when you look through the interface. We can even generate XML or CSV Excel charts directly out of our interface that gets attached within the event that goes out. So here's an example of the interface of where we have some events installed. We can then assign in our group number, which is our profile, and we can even assign temporary messages that go out along with the event. As we drill down into the event, where we customize the information, we have different variables that are inserted within the SedonaSync event that gets pulled through. For instance, a body footer and a message footer. When we go in to customize that information, we actually are presented with a standard editor where we can put that information or the description of the event and the verbiage that's going to go out, but we can set the fonts and the colors using a standard editor instead of the HTML that is required when using SedonaSync directly. So this is an example of our automated collection letters where we've set up the OPT sync interface to customize the event. What we see is that there's different components that can actually be customized with the event. For instance, we have our address information here. We can select a different formatting option within the interface for that, as well as our salutation. So in this case, we're addressing the customer directly, but we could address the customer, or we can address the site or the bill to or whatnot. And that's a simple drop-down menu, so you aren't required to change any of the query logic or the HTML coding to do that. We also have in our blue here, we have a dynamic collections message that actually is generated depending on the status of the account. So if the account is over 30 days, we show a specific message. However, if it's over 60, we can show a different message. Those messages are actually customizable within the interface directly as well. And down at the bottom, we can see that there is also a section for a logo and our signature. This information is stored globally inside the system, and we can attach different signatures to specific events. This way, your events go out with a standard look and feel. This is the profile section which we were referring to, where we can insert logos and our CSS code, which is what ultimately defines the style and the color. This information is delivered to you with multiple profiles, and you can add your own profiles as well. And I mentioned before that we have the ability to add in custom messages within our events as well. So this is an example of where we've put a temporary message that goes into an event that will only show within that time frame. After that period of time, the message is automatically removed requiring no user input, and the customer will not receive expired messages. In addition to the information that we've stored for the profiles and the events, we also look at the Sedona database, and we can add additional information to certain tables that don't have email addresses. So for instance, your branch and your departments don't have an email address assigned within Sedona. However, through our interface, you can assign an email address, and then those reports that are relevant to those particular entities can go out. So if you have a report that goes out to the warehouse manager, you can assign that directly here. Or if you need a PO notification to go out to the specific vendor, we can choose vendor and assign a default email address for that vendor. We also have the ability now to run an event manually right through the interface. So if we set up a report for you, you can run it manually instead of running it on a schedule right through the interface directly, allowing you the ability to design or have us design ad hoc reporting. As we mentioned before, we have the ability to send information directly from our interface out to third-party providers. So what we can do is we have an API functionality that we built that allows us to send information to, say, SurveyMonkey or FormStack with specific information out of the database. We can customize what information goes out and how it looks to that third-party provider. So in the case of a survey, we've selected the columns that we want to transmit to that provider. They receive that and display it on the form, and when the information is sent back to us, it comes in with the correct information. As we mentioned before, we have the ability to do dashboarding. We also allow you to access these dashboards directly through the interface, allowing for an extra level of security and convenience. Our dashboarding, as we mentioned, also has the ability to have the customization through the interface. We also offer an added level of customization for our service reports, where we can define by problem code a specific warning level and different color schemes based on the type of problem that's being reported. Some of our reports require some additional information to get to the granular level that some of our customers have required. For instance, in costing for specific technicians, a customer requested that we have the ability to override the specific labor rate for that service company and give that technician a separate costing rate. These types of changes, we would add a tab into our interface to allow for override costing or other types of customizations that were needed for an event. This also allows us here to assign a photo that we use for the technician dispatch event, as well as the biography. We have also offered the ability to simplify security for the interface. So instead of using a dedicated security login, we can actually look at the SedonaOffice security methods and allow you to use the same user and password that you would use to log into Sedona into the OPT Sync interface, allowing you granular permissions control over the different tabs and what the users could change. So in addition to the Sedona reports and events that we've designed, we also have a series of Manitou events that go in and look at information in Manitou and combine it with Sedona. So in this case, we have a list of dealers within Sedona that have gone on or offline inside Manitou. We can look at this information as the number of accounts that are in there and the number of accounts that have gone on and offline. We also offer the ability to break that report down by the specific dealer and send in the information to that dealer that is relevant to them. This is a great way to audit the billing, or as to send a backup to the master invoice. We're also setting up late to test reports that compare information within Sedona and Manitou. So in this particular case, we're looking for customers that are over 90 days past due in Sedona, but they are late to test inside Manitou. This gives us a clear indication that there is something specifically wrong with this particular client, and that needs to be addressed immediately. We can also compare system type with inside Sedona and match that up with the late to test as well. One of the great events that we have as well is we can alert the technician after they've departed the service call that they have still left it on test mode within Manitou. It's giving you a great way to keep your technicians informed that the call is still on test and prevent any undue liability after they leave. One of the events that we are currently working on using the SedonaSync Actions module is to allow Manitou to generate a service ticket within inside Sedona based on certain resolution codes within Manitou. What we use is the auto client to determine if the particular event needs a service ticket, and then it closes it with the correct resolution code, and SedonaSync will pick up that information and generate a service ticket accordingly. That's just a few of the events that we have designed already. We're currently in the process of designing even more. These are a list of a few of the events that we have already packaged and built already for some of our clients. We're currently working on even more every day, and we love to work with you guys to design specific events that solve certain problems within your business. So I thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to show you guys a little bit about what we're doing here. You know, if you guys would like to get any additional information, definitely give us a call, or you can visit our website at optbusinessservices.com. We have several of our events that are already built up there, and we're going to be having a full list updated just shortly there as well. And as mentioned before, we can work with, we can build events for SedonaOffice, Manitou, WeSuite, and QuoteWorks. So thank you guys for giving us the opportunity.
Well, thanks, Brad. There's a few questions that have come in, so I'm going to go ahead and ask away, and if you don't mind answering those, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
The first question is, can you customize SedonaSync events for me? And I think that's kind of what this whole is about, but maybe you could just go into that a little bit.
Sure. So we offer our services in two ways. One, we have predefined events that are already built that we can ship to you guys that use our interface. The second option is we can take either events that you've already designed and recode them so they work with the interface, or we can build events right from the ground up specifically for your business needs. So if you have something already that you want customized, we can certainly do that, or we can build a fresh one for you right using the particular problem that you guys want to address.
Okay, thank you. The next one says, we process a lot of credit card and ACH, auto-recurring and one-off payments. Would it be possible to be able to send a receipt notice with SedonaSync?
Absolutely. We have a package that we're finishing right now. We have several components built already, several events, but we're going to have a full suite designed for payments and ACH transactions. We're working very closely with Wayne from ACH or Forte now, and to design these payment receipts as well as notifications when an ACH payments fail due to bad credit card numbers or expiration. We currently have ACH expiration reports now, and this is going to be an entire suite of notifications that we're building specifically for payments in ACH.
Great. While I ask a few more questions, I'm going to launch a quick poll. And if you would like more information on OPT and the services that they offer, just fill this out, and this way we'll know to make sure that Brad and or Chris get a hold of you. The next one says is we use a mastermind database, and the question is, can SedonaSync interface with other databases such as Mastermind or other ODBC databases?
The answer is absolutely. Any ODBC database can be done. What we do is we look for information that's the same in both databases. So for instance, we would compare your system number or your account number inside SedonaOffice, and we would compare that with the account number inside Mastermind. That would generate our linking. And then we would go through your Mastermind database looking for the particular information that you want to report on and link that back to the information out of Sedona. So really we can do it any number of databases. We've even gone as far as in some of our flash reports, we've looked at the Ademco Compass downloader database and reported on the number of panels that were uploaded or downloaded for the day. So really any ODBC compliant database we can work with.
Okay. The next question is, when an event is purchased, does it require anything additional from the user, or are they usable out of the box?
So that's a good question. So what we have is when you purchase an event, we will install the event for you. It has all of our information in there to code back to the interface. So you will need to have the interface installed previously for the event to work. Now, once the interface is installed, there's a level of customization that you'll need to do initially with the interface, such as your signature and your styling and things like that. That piece is done through templates that we have for the interface, or you can customize your own. Once the interface is fully installed, installing an event will use the default profile that you've chosen. So the event should work immediately. There are few exceptions to some of the more complex events that talk to certain parts of your database, such as GL accounts and things like that. Of course, every company has a separate GL, so we would require a little bit of customization there. But most events can be turned on fairly quickly and up and running right after purchase.
Great, thank you. The next question is the pie chart add-on a SedonaSync add-on or a OPT add-on function?
Sure. Part of the reports module for SedonaSync. So you would contact Sedona, or you contact Sedona for the reports module, and that's you'd build a query based on that that information that you wanted to pull, and it would display as a chart or a graph. That information can be added into our particular events. We don't charge for that functionality. That's something you would have to purchase through Sedona.
Okay. And I think there's two more questions here, unless anyone else adds one. This one is more, I don't know SQL or the SedonaOffice database structure. Can I still use SedonaSync?
Well, absolutely, and that's what we're doing here. We're really trying to offer a service to customers that don't have a full-time IT staff that understands either SQL, HTML, CSS, or any of the other coding languages needed in order to utilize SedonaSync. Our interface takes care of all of that for you. So what we do is we provide the event, and all the logic is done for you already. All you have to do is go into the interface and set up what you want it to say. That information is done using the standard text editor and doesn't require any coding language or database understanding whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. And I think this last question is one that I can answer. Where do we get more information on SedonaSync, and where will we purchase that from. So if you want any additional information on SedonaSync, contact Justin at our office, and Justin's phone number, once again, is 440-247-5602, extension 209, or just email Justin. You can email him at justind@perennialsoftware.com. So any information on SedonaSync or where to purchase it from, or any of the modules, you could do it from there. So there's one other question that came in, so I'm going to ask this. How often do you run the query for the tech dispatch event, and do you find it bogs down the server?
That's a good question. So the technician dispatch event, we can run that every 5 minutes. As long as the query is simple enough that it doesn't require an extensive runtime, running it more frequently is not an issue. But when you're building the events, you want to look at your database as a whole, the number of events that you have, and you want to utilize the priorities as well as the frequency. The frequency will determine how often that event runs, but the priority will give prioritization to certain events that need it more. So say you have a report that has to go out at a certain time, you give that a higher priority, and if the SedonaSync is still queuing up the technician dispatch events, it'll put them to the side, send out the higher priority one, and then it will send out the dispatch photos events. So we can look at your system as a whole and say that these events should have a higher priority, they have a lower priority, and adjust the frequencies accordingly. In addition, we also have a event pack that we worked with SedonaSync directly to build that looks at the health of the SedonaSync server. So if you have something that's bogging down, we can send an alert out saying that the system is bogging down and that we need to stagger the reports a little bit more.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brad. And thank you, Chris. We really appreciate your time today and demonstrating everything you're doing at OPT. You really made SedonaSync just a much better product, and offering the event packs to all of our customers. And it's just a really great service. So I want to thank everyone else for attending today's webinar. It will be posted on our website, hopefully within the next day or two. And look for future webinars as we post those, and look forward to bringing you more and more of them. Again, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.